folks. My name is Mo Amir, and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. We're going taboo tonight to talk about things you're not allowed to say out loud. JJ McCullough will be here to discuss the forbidden P word, privatization, when it comes to reforming our country's ailing healthcare system. But first, I got in trouble last week because I said the K word, Karen, which I think is a great term to describe anyone exhibiting privileged entitlement, like neighbors that lobby against a childcare center. However, some of you told me that the term Karen is a slur. Here to give us her verdict is my friend, the president of Down Syndrome BC, a recipient of the Order of British Columbia. She is, of course, Tamara Taggart, and this is Tea Time with Tamara.
I was thinking, is it a slur?
I was told that the term Karen is ageist, sexist, and racist because it's referring to middle-aged white women.
Oh, I don't think I agree with any of that. No. Well, I don't think it's age. How is it ageist?
It's women of a certain age, right?
It is?
I think so.
I thought it was anybody who's a jerk.
That's how I like to use it.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
Have I ever used it out loud? I don't think I have.
Not
I've never
out loud.
No, I'm sure I've maybe texted it once in a while. But yeah, it's like I was thinking about, is it a slur? Like, what does it, who I think of when I think of Karen?
Who do you think of?
I think of that Kate +8 woman. That's like the ultimate person I think of.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember her?
No.
What?
I have no frame of reference for this.
You don't know who Kate +8 is?
Can you give me the explanation?
She had the 8 kids with her husband, John Gosling.
If I had 8 kids, I'd probably be complaining a lot,
No,
too.
she's the Karen.
Oh, okay.
She's got like the short haircut and the,
Yes,
yeah. Do you know her?
Right, okay.
I'm sorry, I did not know you didn't know who Kate Gosling is.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anyways, doesn't matter. But I always think of that person like first of all, I have a ton of friends whose name is Karen.
Yes.
And none of them are actual Karens.
That's who I feel bad for. If your name is actually Karen, I do sympathize and I feel bad that this term is being used. But in a sense, I feel like the term is so perfect for that very entitled person that thinks that talking to the manager is somehow going to, magically resolve their issues, which sometimes is not the case.
I mean, I've had my kids say to me before, when I'm mad about something, are you going to ask to talk to the manager? And I'm like, okay, that's not.
Have your children called you a Karen?
Not a Karen, I don't think.
Okay.
But maybe they have. Or maybe they've just said, why do you want to talk to the manager? Like, don't make a fuss. They always say to me, don't make a fuss, don't make a fuss. Yeah. And it's like, so I often wonder if I'm sure there's somebody watching right now who thinks that I am a Karen and I'm talking like a Karen right now.
Right.
And I'm sure that they'll tweet about it or whatever. And I don't really care.
Well, you didn't call me racist or ageist or sexist yet. So I feel like you're not defending Karens
But isn't the origin of Karen isn't it that person who calls out? She is a racist, right? Like she is the person who's always calling out people that aren't white, that are maybe, I don't know, selling lemonade on the corner or whatever it might be that she doesn't think is right.
That is the origin. And I think it is a commentary on privilege.
Yes.
And how, if I think the idea is like if a white woman calls the police on a black guy, she's immediately believed and he's maybe
100%.
demonized. And it's kind of that story. And it's evolved to encompass NIMBYism and just general everything. Snotty attitude as well. Yeah. So it encompasses a lot. And I think in that case of the childcare center where people and neighbors voted against it, what other term can you use? Like you can use NIMBY, but it's almost more than that,
I think it's just better to say what it is. Racist.
Okay. So
foolery. That's what these people that are acting like that are
privileged,
right?
Entitled.
Privileged, yes.
Yeah. So are you in favor of getting rid of the term?
Well, I think about my friends whose name is Karen.
Okay.
Right? I know a lot of Karens. I think in the 70s, a lot of people named their girls Karen.
Yeah.
It was just a popular name.
Hence why the culture really zoned in on this name.
I guess, right?
Because it is
Why isn't it Debbie, though? Or why isn't it Laura? Or why isn't it, you know what I mean? Why Karen, I wonder?
I don't know.
I don't either. I have no idea. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all know exactly who that person
Totally.
is, right?
Yeah.
And so, but how do you, I guess Karen is a good word for it, but it's not if your name is Karen.
What I'm trying to figure out is, am I allowed to use this term? Because we know what it's referring to. Am I allowed to use it? Did I cross a line last week when I said
you
the
used
K
it?
word?
Well, who complained about it?
Viewers?
Were they Karens?
People on Twitter?
How many?
I don't want to call anyone a Karen now because apparently it's a slur.
But like, I'm serious. Like, how much resistance? Just a few.
Yeah.
Were they women or men?
I think it was a mix, but usually I get in trouble for things that you say. So this was a first for me.
Are you kidding me right now? You never get in trouble for things that I say, do you? It's such a good question because I think that I know exactly who Karen is.
Yeah.
We all know who Karen is. I don't like that people use the name Karen because I know Karens and they're great. And some of them laugh about it and others are really upset about it.
Yeah, and I get it.
I get it too. I don't think you're wrong for using the word though.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think you can use it. I think you can do whatever you want. And if people complain about it, well.
I think what I'm going to try to commit to is to be more creative and perhaps use better, more accurate terminology.
What's the male version of Karen?
I would call a male Karen for sure.
No,
South Park.
Isn't it Ken or Chad?
I mean, maybe South Park did a thing where a male character was named Karen.
I like Chad. Isn't it Chad? I don't know. I
think that's something else in internet slang. But hey, Tamara, I appreciate your insight on this. I feel like we didn't reach a conclusion, but I will commit. I will commit to being better.
Me too.
Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Mo.
Absolutely. Folks, she is one of my best friends. She is, of course, Tamara Taggart. Now, after some business, as more Canadians are actually turning to privatized health clinics, either in other provinces or other countries, why is the idea of privatization still taboo in this country, especially when privatization doesn't necessarily mean American-style healthcare? Let's talk about how we can't talk about it up next.